Hello, Lucy, and hello, everyone, and welcome to this wonderful platform where I am very honoured to be interviewing incredible people. Now, not just from the same industry, but from different industries and also internationally. Now, today I am joined by the brilliant Lucy Brazier, one of the world's leading authorities on the administration profession. Now, Lucy is the CEO of Marcham Publishing, specialist publishers for the Executive Secretary magazine. Now, Lucy, I know that you have trained, chaired, and presented in over 45 countries at hundreds of events, and you have over 30 plus years in experience in the industry of publishing and events themselves. Now, anybody who knows all about the very, very famous Exec Live will know just how brilliant they are. And something's happening on the 19th and 20th of June this week, this month, very excitingly, and I can't wait to ask you all about it because it is Global Live. Wow. Now, Lucy, you have a brilliant LinkedIn group for assistants with over 45,000 members, 12,000 followers on Twitter, and in 2012 you launched Admin Chat. And I know that you love all things Spain and Spanish. You have 3 beautiful children, Marcus, Sam and Charlotte, married to the wonderful Duncan, and here we are today. It's a real pleasure to have you on and interviewing you. So how are you? How are things, Lucy?
Oh, they're not too bad, thank you, Emily. Really not too bad. It was a bit kind of strange right at the beginning of lockdown because we were 2 days away from going to Spain, and all our stuff had left ahead of us on a big van. And that's all sitting in Spain waiting for us because my husband, as you know, is 20 years older than me. So he decided he was going to retire and we were going to sail off to Spain, and I was going to work and he was going to do lots of reading and walking and all playing golf and all that stuff. But it wasn't quite that way. So we're having actually quite a nice time in a house that was very kindly given to us by our local church to live in until we're able to get to Spain in September. So really? All's well that ends well.
Yes, glad to hear you safe and well. That is important because so much has changed during lockdown. And I mean, let's kick start. What's been your guilty pleasure during lockdown, Lucy?
Oh my word, I don't know whether I've had much time for guilty pleasures really, because yes, everything has changed very, very fast with what we're trying to do, and we've had to keep up with that. But I have made time every day to watch some TV, and we got really hooked on Killing Eve. And then when we finished that, and all the series of that, then we went on to The Crown. So both those things, and also I have been taking it upon myself to get up every morning and go walking at 7:30, which isn't actually something that I ever did before lockdown, but this new house is very close to Richmond Park, which for those of you that are watching from abroad is a 4-mile squared park right in the heart of London, which used to be a hunting ground for Henry VIII, and he left it to the people. So it's absolutely stunningly beautiful, and there are deer wandering around, and at this time of year you see rabbits and fawns, and it's just beautiful. So it's a great start to the day to go and do 2 hours walking there, and a great way to get rid of stress and anxiety about the lockdown, I suspect.
Definitely. And I think that's such a beautiful, I feel like I'm there with you, how you've just described it so wonderfully. And so many people from around the world have got that real connection, haven't they, that they found with nature during this time. And it reduces those moments that we have where we feel nervous, anxious, and it does become quite overwhelming. So finding those ways to combat it does really help, and it's really nice, and thank you for sharing that with us, Lucy. So,
you know, Libby Moore always says that nature is the new corner office, and I really like that. Nature is the new corner office. I think, you know, being able to see the sky and get out from inside of your house has a really calming impact.
It really does, and very beautifully so, and I hope that the sunshine comes back out, because I know we've had quite a lot of rain recently, although you just have to don your Wellington boots and your Macs, don't you?
Indeed.
So, Lucy, when it comes to all of this brilliant work that you do with the profession, I know that you have been working tirelessly in adapting, and since lockdown began, it has shown the world how much more digital communication can really still bring everyone together, unite them, and create that sense of community. And on the 19th and 20th of June, you are going to do Global Live. I mean, that's it. There's, if you're in, you know, if you're outside of the planet and you're in the universe, potentially you could still tap in. You know, this is total takeover. Tell us more about Global Live.
Oh, well, we were really lucky actually in some ways, because only a couple of weeks after lockdown began, we were due to be running Executive Secretary Live in London, which is our conference that we do every single year. I mean, we usually run them all over the world, but our in-person conference. So when it became clear that we were going to have to postpone that, I had to switch very quickly, which actually I think we did. We switched far more quickly than a lot of other people in the market, because there was no choice. But I quickly understood that actually this was going to be a huge opportunity, because it was going to mean that we were able to reach a lot of people that we hadn't reached before, because it was going to be far more cost effective. And I went to our entire database of speakers and basically said, we are wanting to hold this. It's going to be 2 days of continual personal development. So it's 48 hours, and then you get 48 hours afterwards to catch up on any that you particularly wanted to see, but maybe you missed because it was on at 3 a.m., for example. And I, having written to them, they all just came back and said, yes, of course, no problem. So we've got these, the lineup is like a who's who of all the trainers for the administrative profession right the way across the world. And what I have come to discover is that actually just because it's online, it doesn't mean it's any less exciting. It's just about thinking it in a slightly different way. You know, most people I think are quite concerned that with digital events, there isn't going to be so much networking, there isn't going to be so much heart to heart. Maybe you don't get the same kind of excitement out of it. But we've been working with some of the really best event producers in the business who specialize in virtual. And the stuff that they can do is just phenomenal. So I am really, really excited to share next weekend with everybody, because we've got a few surprises. And I think, no, I know you know this, Emily, but my dad was the head of drama at the BBC for a number of years and was a theatre producer. So putting on shows, as it were, is in my blood. And I think right from the very beginning, I got that if we were going to do 2 days of continuous broadcast, we had to think about it as just that, as a broadcast, as like a TV program, because the very big difference with putting on something in the home and putting on something live is that people will sit in a room, and if they're bored, they won't get up and move if everybody is together. However, if they're at home, they'll think, oh, I don't like this much. I'll go and make a cup of tea, or I'll go to the bathroom. And then I was watching other people who were doing conferences, and I was seeing them scrabbling around because the tech wasn't working. And then things were meant to start at a certain time and they didn't. And it was so we've pre-recorded the whole thing so that it literally plays from the minute we press go for 48 hours. But we also have live chat. So it is going to be really interactive. And a lot of the speakers are going to be live on the chat. So if you want to ask questions, you can. And we have a Facebook group too, so people can interact that way. But I think, especially at the moment, people want to feel secure and relaxed and know that it's going to go the way it's meant to, and that things are going to start on time. There's far too much uncertainty in the world at the moment for us to be adding to it. So lots of our trademark AV and music and fun interviews and very serious interviews, and people who will make you laugh and people who will make you cry and people who will just inspire you beyond belief. So come join us. I'm excited, in case you hadn't noticed.
Lucy, it sounds absolutely like off the chain. This is, you know, next level. And I think it'll be interesting. There'll be live chats where people will be asking, how do I stay awake for 48 hours? Because it'll be that, I'll just, you know, when you're watching something yourself and you love it, you think, I'll just watch another episode. I'll do another half an hour. And then you get to you think, I'll just do another half an hour. There's going to be so much commentary of people who will be, I've done a whole 24 hours straight so far. You know, it's going to come alive. It really is. And like you say, you've turned it into this brilliant broadcast so that people have that assurance that everything that's happening is just going to go so smoothly and so seamlessly, and then you can put all that energy and time into the engagement and interacting with everybody. What is going to be, would you say, like the real highlight, or can't quite tell us yet? Is there something that really got you like thinking, wow, 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 like even more so?
So many, actually. You know, I did the most extraordinary interview with Danny McCubbin, who was the EA to Jamie Oliver and went on to be his culture manager. And he was very involved with 15, and he was very involved with the school dinners project that Jamie did. But he's gone on himself to do a lot of social enterprise, and some of the things he's involved in were deeply moving. The interview with Matthew, my EA, and Skevi Constantinou, who together might seem a very strange combination on the surface, but actually what many people don't know is that both of them have life-limiting conditions. And I wanted to take ordinary assistants who are living and doing extraordinary things and talk to them about what it is that they feel really drives them. And there was a moment in the middle of that, well, where I got very, very emotional when Matt started talking about his story particularly and why he operates in the way that he does. But also, you know, when you're watching Britain or America's Got Talent and that smile comes across Simon Cowell's face where he knows that somebody is really special. You know, there have been several of those moments in the interviews that I've been doing with people and in sessions that I've been watching where I thought, oh my word, I can just see social media going bonkers at that moment, just because there's, you know, there's some really touching things. Oh, and the Melba Duncan, oh my word, her keynote. Wow. She's 70 years old now, and she's such an icon of the industry. And I talked to her about everything. And she's just about to publish a book called Indispensability. So she was giving a lot of advice to assistants, but then she was talking about her legacy. And of course, we touched on the race issue, and talking to somebody who lives in Lexington Avenue and has made it, having come as a small child from Jamaica and from absolutely nothing and having built her career, is just extraordinary. And we decided just 2 days ago, actually, to add an additional session where we have 4 of the really amazing Black leaders talking about race in the workplace. And I think that's going to be huge. And of course, we finish with Laura Schwartz. And Laura, for those of you who don't know her, was the director of events at the White House. And now she is a TV commentator. She's forever on the news. She covers for Larry King when he's away. But she's going to be telling us her story and telling her about how from that she built the pillars to her success. So, but don't get me wrong. I mean, almost every hour there is something else that's going to really challenge you, really move you, just give you the skills that you need to get through COVID and out the other side and be an assistant that people think, wow, they're just phenomenal.
Lucy, it sounds incredible. And I love how you have captured so many beautiful things. There's the vulnerability, there's the inspiration, you know, there's the common affair. Oh gosh, Emily, put your teeth in. There's the cultural affairs that are happening at the moment of everything that's going on around the world. It just sounds really brilliant. And I really do think that there ought to be that pre-list that goes out that says, get your cupboard stocked for the next 48 hours. Make sure your seat is comfy. Make sure you have all your chargers around you, because they'll be like, you know, here's the checklist, because everything you have just shared, and I know that that's just such a small portion of what is going to happen, is really mind-blowing. And it sounds like you're going to take people through a wonderful journey and create so much experience as though they're there with them, and it's there in their front room. What great memories to give everybody when they look back at this time, and something so inspirational that you've brought to the table. So yes. Oh wow.
Thanks, Emily.
Live. And if we've got people who are listening to this interview, Lucy, who are inspired by Global Live and want to take part, where would you like them first and foremost directed to?
Okay, so if you go to our website, which is Executive Secretary Live, there's a drop-down menu there, which you click, which says events, and there you'll find Global. So best address to go to is probably Executive Secretary Live.
Amazing. And in the build up to all of this and outside of Global Live, what have you found has been the experience for EAs, PAs, VAs around the world? And are there cultural differences? What does the lay of the land look like?
Oh gosh, well, for sure, there are different things going on in different countries. You know, I mean, my poor Brazilian assistants that I fell in love with last year have just had the most awful time because their head of their country doesn't believe that COVID exists. And, you know, obviously, America is in parts of that is having really hard time. Well, we all are, but some places it's different to others. South Africa, they weren't allowed to go out at all. Spain, they absolutely, and in South Africa, they weren't allowed cigarettes or alcohol either. Can you believe that? I know, because they have a lot of alcohol-related violence there, so they decided that if they were locking people down, they couldn't sell alcohol either. In Spain, they locked everybody in, and if you went out to go to the supermarket even, and it wasn't your local supermarket, you could be fined €1,000. You know, from a point of view of the assistants themselves, and you know, Emily, I've done several of these webinars now, and so we're talking to them all the time. They tended to fall into two groups, really. And the first group were the ones who were so overwhelmed with work and trying to deal with kids and husbands and everything else, and we're just finding the whole thing totally overwhelming. And in some cases, businesses were being really quite naughty because they had furloughed some people and were trying to give their work to the assistants as well. And on the other side, there were assistants that were sitting there going, I'm really worried. I have nothing to do. They're not talking to me. I feel like my job was under threat before we started because of the fourth industrial revolution. And now I'm going to go back and they're going to say, we don't need you. You didn't add any value. So, you know, it's been trying to deal with both those sets of people. And to me, this whole COVID situation, if it's used properly by the assistant, is a way to springboard. Because I feel that we've been wanting to have conversations with our executives forever on how best to use us. And in fact, because everything has changed, if you were to start being proactive at this point and send to them a list and say, this is how I can support you. Most executives are human, you know. They are really going through it. They don't know what they're meant to be doing themselves. And so they're looking at all this big picture stuff and trying to put stuff in place so that their companies in some case survive and so they can protect their staff. They don't have time when you go to them as an assistant and say, what do you want me to do, to think about it. So they just go, well, I don't know, do I? Go and do whatever it is you need to do. Whereas if you were to go and you were to say, look, you're putting together, I'm sure, new policies, you're putting together documents, you're putting together presentations, whatever it is you're doing, how can I help? Do you want me to go research anything for you? Do you want me to do a briefing document? What is it that I can be doing right now that's going to free you up to do the things that you need to do in order to save your business? And you know what? I think if you go and you do that and you get proactive, when we come out the other end of this, they're going to be thinking, well, she or he is absolutely indispensable. And actually, because everything is changing, there won't be another chance quite like this to have those conversations. And I don't know if you saw, but last month in April, on Admin Professionals Day, I published a video which was for executives. So that's on our YouTube channel. And if anybody's interested, it's only 20 minutes, but it's a great thing to send to your executive and just say, hey, you know, if you're not sure how to use your assistant, here are some great ways to do it, because here are ways I could support you that maybe you haven't thought of.
And I do think that that is always done very brilliantly by yourselves and the community that you work within, Lucy, where you create those opportunities for dialogue, for communication, for those individuals to take into those conversations and those meetings to in essence, create growth of that relationship dynamic and take what relationship interaction that they have onto the next level. And it's about that, like you say, it's about being proactive, and rather, instead of being curative, it's making sure that things are continuing to progress and transform, but doing it together, and that collaboration. And I do love how well that I've heard so many examples of that, and I've seen it as well even at the executive secretary live events, where it's about support, and sometimes it's that moment where somebody will say something that plants the seed, or it instills that confidence within the assistant to say, oh yeah, okay, I can do this. And they then realize they're not alone in that thought process, in that moment where perhaps they're thinking, is it just me that's thinking like this, or are other people? And when those conversations begin, I've seen the transformation where people become empowered, and so many brilliant feedback, like examples go on saying, hey, I did this, I did that. And everyone's like, yes, wow, such a celebratory community as well.
It really is. And I think the big transformation comes when they understand that it isn't their executive that employs them, it's their business.
Yes.
And they are employed by their business to give their executive back their time. And actually, they are a tool. So if you think about it, if you divide your executive's time and work out how into hours and work out how much they're worth per hour, your job is to make sure that they are spending every hour of their time in the best way possible. Now, once you understand it's not about your executive, what your executive wants, although obviously you are there to make sure that they are the best they can possibly be, but rather it's about the fact that your business wants to make sure that for every pound they are spending, they're getting value. Suddenly it becomes a totally different proposition. And actually, the very best assistants can free up to 80% of the executive's time. Give it back to them so that they can really get on with running the business. And then that creates enormous value. I was guilty of it myself, Emily, you know. I sat there working with myself for the first year. And somebody said to me, you really need an assistant, you're drowning. And I said, I don't, you know, I can't afford it. And they said, but how much are you worth an hour? And when I looked at it, and I suddenly worked out how much I would be paying an assistant, I thought, gosh, if I hire an assistant and get them to do all this stuff, I can spend all that time doing the stuff that's going to make me money.
Yeah. like, yes.
Yes, exactly.
So. And taking that forwards, that momentum, what do you think the landscape will look like in 6 months or 12 months, or what would you like it to look like, Lucy, if you're continuing on that path of enlightening, inspiring, and increasing that level of communication within this brilliant profession? What do you want? What's the key message that's going forwards so that really does carry on whilst we all live under the parameters of this very, very surreal situation?
Yeah, well, I think there are several things there. I mean, we've been campaigning for assistants to be recognised for the last 10 years because I don't think many businesses, and certainly a lot of executives, don't understand what they do. It's 58% of the people who responded to our latest survey said that they felt underutilised. So there is huge amounts of work going on. And you know, we're very involved with World Administrators Summit and the World Administrators Alliance. And I'm working very hard with them to put in place a career progression which is standardized right the way across the world. And not so that there are job titles, but so that we say, okay, there are 5 levels of assistant, from 1, which is junior level, all the way up to 5, which is very senior. And we couldn't put job descriptions in place, obviously, because everybody's job description would be different pretty much if you're an assistant. But what we have managed to do is to look at skills and to put a skills matrix in place. And this does many things, because it means your exec can look at it and go, I'm looking at recruiting. That's the level that I need. And therefore, that's the remuneration we should be paying. You can go look at courses and say, actually, if I want to get from a 3 to a 4, what do I need to do it? It means if you're looking to transfer roles, you can go, well, I'm a level 5 assistant, and look at adverts in papers that say that. So all the associations from right the way across the world are involved in that. That all hopefully gets ratified in August this year, and then we're going to be able to take it back to business and back to government. And what's exciting about that is that we've already got a couple of the big four who are really excited and interested in that and are talking about rolling it out to their clients. So to me, part of the way to get recognition for assistants is to make sure that career progression is in place and standardized, because right now there are 162 job titles. So it all just gets confused and it's seen as a function instead of a profession. But as far as COVID is concerned, I think the whole going back to work piece is going to be confused at best. And what assistants do best is tame chaos. So I think position yourself that way and watch this space, because as long as you are really being proactive, taking time to learn about your business and prove that you are contributing to the return on investment, to the bottom line, you're going to be just fine.
That's great advice. And I know so many people do feel far more assured and very encouraged by that knowledge of what's coming, what has been happening. And the WA Summit do some incredible work. And I know that you are also thoroughly and very deeply involved with a SIPO. And I did want to mention that because I know that this is a very, I want to find the right word. It takes on lots of layers of beautiful involvement, but in a way that is to enable others to gain experience and create something for themselves, if you like. If you turn the key in the engine, you kickstart it and really get that growing. You water the seed, as it were. I'm trying to find all the right words. I know that it's a beautiful cause. So yes, tell us more about that.
Yes. So Isipo actually means the gift. It's a Zulu word, and our foundation is based in South Africa, in Johannesburg currently. And it was actually Nell Martin and Terry Wells, the trainers from over there, who came to me and said, would you become involved in this with us, and would you become one of the directors and go and help us to market it? And we don't get any government funding at all. It's all Isipo angels or administrative people across the world who raise money. And basically what we do is we take kids out of the townships mainly, and where there is no opportunity, and we train them for a year to be assistants. And at the end of the year, we help to find them work. Now, if I tell you that right now, the unemployment rate in Johannesburg is 55% for the youth, 55%. And, you know, we have had some amazing success stories. I mean, Lerato, who was year one, when we met her, she was spending her weekends cutting hair for kind of pin money and doing a bit of volunteering. And she's now employed by the biggest insurance company in Johannesburg. And just the transformation of her is extraordinary. Iris, who is sibling parent to 5 kids, who, in other words, her parents are gone, so she's bringing them up on her own. And when we met her, she was 19 and looking after those 5 kids, and her money had to support all of them. Well, you know, she's now graduated and out the other side and working. And Charlotte, who last year was our very first degree student, she'd spent 2 years studying for her degree with no textbooks because they couldn't afford them. And we took her on to put her through her final year. And not only did she get her degree, but she got 3 distinctions.
Wow.
So, you know, this year we've taken on our first boy. We've got 2 kids from an orphanage just outside of Johannesburg. And, you know, the enormity of the problem really is very overwhelming. But that's why our tagline is changing lives one person at a time, because we kind of came to the conclusion that we couldn't change everybody's lives. But if we focused one person at a time, the ripples from that are extraordinary, because when they do graduate, basically it takes their income level from $3,000 a year to $25,000 a year. So it takes them out of poverty and their family totally. But not only that, if you educate the women, then they educate their children in the value of education, and other people start to look and think, goodness, if they can do it, then so can I. So it's an amazing project, and we're very blessed to have Zelda Lachonji, who was EA to the late Nelson Mandela as our patron. And especially at the moment, you know, our girls have had to go home to the townships, and you're talking about rooms, the average size of houses, the average size of your bathroom in the UK, where you have up to 9 people living. And so how do you socially distance? And there's no running water or electricity. So how do you wash your hands?
Mm-hmm.
It's another part of our education altogether, and we're sending food parcels and trying to help them. But there's very little they can do at the moment because they have nowhere to plug laptops.
Yeah.
They have no electricity.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's an uphill struggle. But I'm really hoping this weekend at Global we have a brand new film, which I saw for the first time this morning, which made me sob. Nick and Emma, who do my AV, when they are on point, they are miraculous. And this film does everything the first one did, and he's going to make you all cry. So, you know, your money, we need it, and they need it, you know.
Yes. Oh, I hope that lots of people do donate, and I'm certain they will. So we need tissues now as well. I mean, gosh, that it just sounds so beautiful, and it gets everybody to maintain perspective as well, doesn't it, on other ways that people have and do experience their day-to-day life. And I think it's really important that the world sees themselves as one community and not divided. And so yes. I think that really will be incredible to watch, and I'm really looking forward to that. And I suppose, Lucy, with your career and everything that you've done, I know that you've worked for the Times and the Independent and so many other businesses, and you're coming up nearly 10 years as CEO for Marcham Publishing. You've won 3 awards for your incredible work in 2015, 16 and 18. And what has been those standout moments for you? What has really just made everything just anchor itself and has been something of note that you cherish, that you enjoy to look back on fondly when you have a moment to yourself?
I can't tell you how many. I mean, I feel like I am endlessly blessed. Do you know that, yeah. Emily? Really, I think when you're doing what you're meant to do, yes. whether you call it the universe or God or whatever, yeah. aligns and makes things flow and makes them easy and brings you the most incredible experiences. So, you know, I mean, going to South Africa for the first time and meeting everybody out there, there's some real pinch me moments, you know, yeah. meeting Zelda, and because Mandela was such a hero of mine. I actually got invited to go and have tea with Archbishop Tutu, which in the end didn't happen because he went into hospital because he had prostate cancer. But I sat down on a chair and cried my eyes out because, again, he was a huge, or he is a huge hero of mine. Going to Moscow and standing in next to St. Basil's, being up there next to Christ the Redeemer in Brazil last year, and round the back of that there's a tiny chapel in the base of Christ the Redeemer, and yeah. you go in there and everywhere that you can see it outside, it's rainforest and it's so beautiful. Going to Buckingham Palace to train the assistants there was pretty amazing. We were I can remember waiting with Matt to go into the palace, and they were marching up and down and playing Les Miserables, and I think that was so surreal, because isn't that all about overthrowing the monarchy? But anyway, that was a huge honour. Yes. We were nominated for Business Magazine of the Year, which to me was enormous, because, you know, it not only gave us the recognition, but actually it said assistants are part of business. So, you know, I mean, I could go on and on and on. There are so many, and I'm sure I'm going to offend somebody who goes, well, wasn't that an amazing thing for you? Well, of course, everything is amazing, you know. It's all really, oh my word, doing the hacker in New Zealand. I mean, seriously, we opened New Zealand first year with Maoris who came and taught all of us how to do the haka, and they played the drums and everything, and we were, and really, have I time to tell you a very quick story?
Go for it.
About Papua New Guinea. Okay, so I chaired the World Summit in 2015 and got sent to Papua New Guinea to do that. And Papua New Guinea is a pretty dangerous place. I mean, they drove you around in armoured cars and there was a guy sitting in the front with a gun. And, you know, and we got on the airplane to go there and they'd said, please do not smoke and don't chew betel nuts. And I thought, betel nuts? Okay, fine. But anyway, it turns out that they are a form of recreation and they get you slightly high and whatever. Anyway, there is no infrastructure at all. So rubbish burns by the side of the road. They have next to no internet. We had 2 days pretty much with no running water in the hotel. Anyway, we get to the end, we get to the gala dinner, and they bring all sorts of people out, and there are people who are dancing in grass skirts with no tops on, and there are people who've got feathers in their hair, and when I come to talk to them, I'm like, gosh, that's so beautiful, but what's that thing hanging down? And it turned out that that was a bird of paradise, but a real bird of paradise, and this was the head and the beak. Towards the end, so people keep coming out and going, this is Lucy Brazier, we have bought a present for you from our tribe. And I'm saying, how amazing, this is really wonderful, thank you so much. And I would take something made of shells or something made of raffia, and they were so beautiful, and they have nothing. So they were bringing me these presents. It was amazing. And sometimes people would get up and sing a song. And the best way I can describe it, because those Papua New Guineans can sing 2 notes at the same time. So it was a little like the opening to The Lion King. It's really that kind of get your heart. Anyway, we get to the end and they say, and now Mrs. Lucy Brazier, our band is going to play a song from your tribe as a tribute to you.
Oh, wow.
Bearing in mind, and I'm thinking, hey, this is gala dinner, the band's going to... And they started playing the Proclaimers, 500 miles.
Your tribe.
Really... Yeah, and I swear, 500 women in that room looked at me like, this is your music? This is rubbish. But they all very politely got up and danced, and I danced with them. And it was one of the most surreal moments in my entire life. But it was just amazing. And I go back to Papua New Guinea, by the way, tomorrow in a heartbeat. They are the most wonderful, wonderful people. I said to Weka Ravosa, who was the head of the association there, who had invited me, there was a huge factory that had been built on the side of the beach, and it had taken up some of the most beautiful parts of their coastline. And I said to her, I hope they are reimbursing the people for taking that huge stretch of land. And she said, what do we need? We have food and we have love. And she meant it.
Yeah.
That's something
remarkable, and a lovely account of people from Papua New Guinea and how they welcomed you. And I'm sure at the end, Lucy, potentially did you say, and here's another CD, other songs are available? You know, with the claim. That's truly marvellous. Something I think, like you say, you'll just remember forever. Well, it's been an absolute delight, and thank you so much. It's been such a pleasure interviewing you. And as parting words, Lucy, what would you love to leave everybody listening to this interview? What would you like to leave them with from the heart, whether it's personal or business? What would that be?
I'm going to leave you with my very favourite quote in the world, which is what I usually say when I get to the end of my training, which is that 20 years from now, you're going to be far more disappointed by the things that you didn't do than by the things that you did do. So throw off the bowlines, sail away from the safe harbour, catch the trade wind in your sails, explore, dream and discover. Thanks, Emily. It's been really great.
Thank you so much, Lucy. That was brilliant. Take care, look after yourself, and I hope you stay safe and well. All the best for Global Live, and a big hello to the huge community of EAs, PAs, VAs. Stay safe and well, family, friends, everyone. So much love. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Emily.